I have been through the emotional ringer lately, and after the third episode, so have most of the characters in the show.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you happen to be new here. It is that time again, once more, dear critters, as we jump into another animated adventure of some of our favorite misfits from the world of Critical Role. I am giving my thoughts and I guess light spoilers here and there for the first 3 episodes of the Mighty Nein. This is the animated series based off of Critical Role's second campaign. This is a much different flavor than what we've gotten with the first 3 seasons of The Legend of Vox Machina. And it also has a plethora of fan favorite characters that have been brought to life in beautiful animation. This video will contain spoilers for the first 3 episodes of the Mighty Nein, so if you have not watched the first 3 episodes, they are on Amazon Prime now. Do check them out and then come back and hear my thoughts on them. Also subscribe, if you would please, if you happen to enjoy this video. And if you happen to just discover this channel through this video or through any of the other videos I've posted, reaction, shorts, whole 9 yards, I would greatly appreciate it. So, the Mighty Nein. This was something I was very much looking forward to. If you have seen any of my past reviews for The Legend of Vox Machina, which they are on the channel, I've put a few of them in the description below. The Mighty Nein were the series that got me into Critical Role. Now, for some explanations, I got into Critical Role around the dark times of 2020. So I started watching them with episode 100 was the first one I actually caught one of the live streams. While I went back to check out some of the information and the major events that happened during the previous 99 episodes of the live stream, my real experience with them was well into their adventures after certain characters have departed and new ones have taken their places. When I heard that how they were going to handle the Mighty Nein was going to be a little bit differently than they did with The Legend of Vox Machina, due to the fact that a lot of the stories that were told in those earlier streams, they were kind of all over the place and they were a little bit more chaotic than characters in Vox Machina. So when you are telling a story for television, you kind of want to structure it a little bit more structurally, is the word? I don't know. It's not the word I'm looking for, but that's the word we're going with.
Okay.
So they have made major changes to how the characters start off. Most notably, characters like Yasha is not already friends with Mollymauk at the carnival. She is off doing her own thing, and a lot of them are already being tied into the story of the Luxon beacon that was stolen from the Kryn dynasty by agents of Trent Ickathon, who is, I guess, our big bad for at least the first season or 2, but ultimately he was one of the big bads throughout the Mighty Nein story. He is the headmaster or the lead arcanist or lead wizard evildoer within the Dwendalian Empire and has a major hand in the mental breakdown of Caleb Widowgast, who was portrayed by Liam O'Brien. Also, Caleb and Knott's meeting they were already together when they first encountered Ford, Jester, and Bo, and Bo was kind of off on her own within these first 3 episodes. So I thought the structure of introducing everybody was interesting from a storytelling standpoint. We get time with all the characters in their various points before they encounter someone else within the eventual party. Caleb and Knott encountering each other when Caleb's trying to break into a store and Knott basically steal some components from him, which he was using to try to, I'm guessing, summon Frumpkin, which is his familiar, but also is a spitting image of the cat he had as a child. And we got to see all the emotional damage early on for Caleb. Emotional damage is going to be just the through line for most of the characters, especially within these first 3 episodes. Episode 1 really only focused on Caleb, Knott, and Beauregard within how they are getting wrapped up in the story of trying to locate the Luxon that was stolen from the Kryn dynasty, and also to prevent a war between the Kryn dynasty and the Dwendalian Empire. I do think restructuring how characters interact is making it for a much more heavier story than with The Legend of Vox Machina, where we meet them in a tavern and they go off on the adventure. They've already been kind of a crew for a little bit. With the Mighty Nein, they are just a bunch of misfits. They are all about stuff in it for themselves and trying to make their way through the crazy world that they live in. The animation is top-notch, but also is a different style slightly than what we got with Legend of Vox Machina. There is a much more muted tone for a lot of the characters, even for Jester, who is our bubbly tiefling who lives in the lavish chateau with her mother, the Ruby of the Sea, and she encounters Ford when Ford was shipwrecked and his crew and mentor were lost at sea, and he is now under the evil, watchful eye of Ukatoa. It's a big giant sea serpent, but I don't think they actually say Ukatoa's name, but I believe it is a part of like if you have closed captioning on, I think it does list it as Ukatoa.
I knew it was coming.
Ukatoa. We get to see Ford gripping with the sudden magic he now possesses. He's also very much not as dashing or as confident as we have seen him in later moments within my experience with the live stream. So it is interesting to see how the cast is approaching these characters, especially with some of these characters that I think their more recent revisiting of them in their live performances have been much higher level and much more completed character arcs. So it must have been interesting for them as performers to go back and revisit them, at some of them at their lowest points. So episode 2 really focused on Ford and Jester, but also still featured some interactions with Caleb and Not and Bo. So the first 3 episodes were really spent just bringing all the characters together at the carnival, where episode 3, where we encounter Molly Mock Tea Leaf, played by Taliesin Jaffe. And Molly is a character very similar to the Legend of Vox Machina that I only know of in passing. I was not a part of Molly's story at the beginning. Spoiler alert for the live stream, Molly is killed off like early on within the campaign, mostly due, from what I understand, with some really bad dice rolls and things like that. So, but his character, spoilers again, spoilers for the live streams, does make a return as an antagonist within the campaign 2, especially towards the finale. With the changes being made within the series, and from the series standpoint, I am curious to see what happens with Molly. I assume that Molly will suffer a similar fate to his campaign counterpart, because eventually we're introduced to Caduceus Clay, who is Taliesin's second character and becomes very prominent throughout the rest of the series. I personally do love Caduceus. I would love to see that character make his way into the animated world, but if they are changing up the story to give these characters different starting points, it stands to believe that we will get a different endpoint for Molly's character, because I don't think they're going to skip out on the emotional damage you can do for an audience if you build up Molly's character within a season and a half or 2 seasons, and by the end of season 2, because I don't think they're going to resolve the whole Luxon story by season 1. You can clip this, and then probably they did, and then this was a completely pointless 2-minute conversation. I don't foresee them resolving the Luxon story, which in terms I would feel like I don't think they would resolve Molly's story by the end of season 1. I think by the end of season 1, I think we will also get Yasha as a part of the team, and I think they might resolve some of it, but I don't think we will have any major character deaths in season 1. I'm thinking, and this is just speculation, I think season 2 will probably end with Molly's death, and then if they do a season 3, season 4, season 5, or whatever, I think you can bring in Caduceus, do a lot more stuff, and then maybe get back to the Cognosa story towards the end of the campaign. One thing to note too about these first 3 episodes, and actually about the whole season, is that these episodes are actually closer to an hour compared to the Legend of Vox Machina, who are getting like closer to a half an hour. So you're actually able to tell a little bit more story and maybe flesh out the characters a little bit more in a shorter amount of time. I'm wondering how many of those events are going to be brought into the animated space Will they treat Trent primarily as the main antagonist of the entire series? Because there are some other characters that make major impacts later on down the line. The first 3 episodes, I think, had a good pace to them. They are a little slower, and I'm curious if they're going to pick up a lot more with the latter half of the episode. Because in actuality, we've had close to 3 hours within the first 3 episodes. Getting certain characters together, reasons that both Jester has to leave her home, the reason that Ford is now with them, also introducing Essek and giving him more of a character arc as well, with his involvement with being one of the people looking for the Luxon, but in actuality being a double agent, and working with Trent on discovering the secrets of the Luxon and his reasoning behind wanting to know more about it. Essek was an NPC portrayed by Matt Mercer. One thing that has benefited both Legend of Vox Machina and the Mighty Nein is that a lot of these NPCs are getting more time to be fleshed out even more. But we get more of an idea of his backstory and what his motivations are because of the way that you tell a story where it's not just the main people portraying their characters. You get to see what the villains are doing and what side characters are doing and so on and so forth. So I think that's one of the beautiful things about them getting an opportunity to take something that is so beloved with a lot of fans and be able to tell it in a different way, to be able to expound more on the events within the series and tell them from a different point of view.
A certain point of view?
I think the characters are much more complex than Vox Machina characters are. I mean, Vox Machina have complex stories, but these guys are much more in depth. They have much more baggage and things involved with their backstory where everyone's gone through it at some point. Except for maybe Jester to a certain extent, but everybody else has gone through their shit. And the first 3 episodes does a job of just dropping those little breadcrumbs of drama-filled and tragic backstories that hopefully within this first season we will get teased more and more. But more than likely, this first season will definitely focus more on Caleb and probably Molly as being the 2 tragic figures, especially with the carnival disaster in episode 3. A lot of the goers got turned into like mutant frogs, and Molly was pushed into a corner by Gustav, which was like a mentor, but also got turned into a frog. And the scuffle, I'm assuming, activated his blood hunter subclass or something like that, because he went full like flurry of blades and shit like that and ended up killing his mentor, which again, emotional damage times 100. Be very interested in see how the remaining episodes go. My understanding is that we're only getting 1 episode each week. They're not doing it in like the 2 or 3 episode batch that Legend of Vox Machina was doing it, probably because of the longer runtime, which is good because it also gives people more time to digest and talk about it and think about it, especially if it's going to be as different than what started off the actual live stream did, which I think is great. It's also only 8 episodes in comparison to Legend of Vox Machina's 12. So while we are getting 4 less episodes, we're getting closer to hour-long episodes. So I think it balances out to Mighty Nein is going to run slightly longer still, but maybe not. It probably all averages out to about the same time frame. Overall, the first 3 episodes were great. I really like how all the characters are set up. I love the animation. And one other thing I really like, and unlike with Legend of Vox Machina, there are more characters who are heavy into magic. And how that magic is depicted is much more interesting, and it's unique as how everybody's magic is slightly different. Not everyone has the same designs, like how Caleb's magic is different from the Volstrucker's magic, and Jester's magic is much more, animated in an anime show, but also more cartoonish and comical. I just like how the different styles of magic are being depicted in this world. It still feels like Exandria, while it's not in Tal'Dorei, we are in Wildmount. It has a much different vibe. I think the Mighty Nein is going to shape up to be extremely well received. I'm really hoping that this continues and gets the traction that Legend of Vox Machina had, and that we get multiple seasons. I'm very much looking forward to these next episodes, and I will be doing reviews for them since they are coming out individually. But to know when all that happens, do subscribe to the channel and check it out once they drop so you are notified when I post them. That is going to do it for this review for the first 3 episodes of the Mighty Nein. Do tell me your thoughts on it in the comments down below. Are you cool with the changes? Are you looking forward to them telling the story slightly differently? Do all that stuff in the comments if you would, please. Just be nice. And thank you so much for checking out this and all my videos. I really do appreciate it. This entire thing is something that takes my mind off of a lot of stuff. So I appreciate you taking the time to just watch and hear my thoughts on it. So yeah, I appreciate that. You can follow me on most social media at DGeekWill. Got a ton of stuff on this channel you're more than welcome to check out. I live stream once a week, so do check it out. Like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff. As always, until next time, have a wonderful time whenever you're watching this, and I will catch you later. See ya.